I really don't think there's anything that beats that sound right there. How's it going, guys? It's K Cars, and today I figured I would bring you guys another Challenger video. Now, I know last week's video was also a Challenger video, but I have been going pretty heavy with the Jeep videos, and I know some of you guys still watch me for the Challenger content. So this video, I did want to go over a few maybe like hidden tips and tricks of this 2016 Dodge Challenger ScatPack. More recent years, did kind of update the Uconnect system and a few features on the inside and outside. So this might not apply to every single Challenger out there. This definitely will apply to the 2016 Dodge Challenger ScatPack shakers. Before we actually do get into the video today, if you guys have been following along, you guys know that I do have these side skirts right here from ZL1 add-ons on the Challenger. You can see that right there. I definitely do like the look of these things, but unfortunately on the driver's side, it actually got ripped off whenever I hit a bump. So we actually did go ahead and order a brand new driver side skirt, so we can go ahead and install that. That's probably going to be coming up here in the next few weeks, an installation video on that. So make sure you guys definitely stay tuned for that video. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. So most of the things I'm going to talk about in this video, most of you guys might already know, but if you're new to Challengers or you're just getting into them or you're thinking about getting one, then I do think this video is going to be very helpful for you guys. So starting off with number one, this first trick that I'm going to talk to you guys about is actually a gas cap holder. If you guys are kind of OCD like me and you don't like getting gas dripped on your paint or like the body of your car whenever you go to fill up, you guys know whenever you go to take out the fuel filler out of your actual like gas tank, it always drips a few drips of fuel, and sometimes it goes on your paint or the body of your car. One pretty easy solution to that is, most of you guys probably know this, before you actually pull the fuel filler out, you just turn it upside down so it doesn't drip onto your actual car. So I'm assuming most of you guys probably know that. One other thing about filling up your gas is that sometimes if you're also OCD like me, you don't want to leave your gas cap like on the paint of your car because it could possibly scratch it. So here's a solution for that. One thing I really do like about the gas cap right here, you know, obviously it says fuel, so obviously you're gonna know where to put your gas right there, but I do like that it's black. I really do think it kind of matches the whole car as well, you know, with the wheels and tires being black, and then you got the black gas cap right there. I really do think it looks very good black. Let me show you guys how this actual gas cap holder actually works here. So right here is the actual gas cap holder. So like I said, if you're pretty OCD about not letting your gas cap like dangle on the paint of your car and possibly scratch it, then let me show you guys how this thing works. So obviously you gotta unscrew it like that, and instead of just leaving it here on the paint of your car, they have a nice little holder, and all you have to do is just put the little wire right there. Then just like that, it won't actually like touch the paint of your car, so you can, you know, not be worried about it actually scratching the paint of your car like that. I definitely do think that's pretty useful. I actually wasn't aware of that until I actually watched a YouTube video just like this. I think it's actually a pretty useful thing to have, especially like I said, if you're OCD like me, you don't want to accidentally scratch the paint on your Dodge Challenger ScatPack here while filling up your gas tank. So I really do think it's pretty useful to have that little gas cap holder thing, just so you don't have to be worried about like leaving your gas cap on the paint or the body of your car and possibly scratching it. So that's the number one tip that I wanted to share with you guys today. Now let's move on to the second one. This tip right here will only apply to the Challengers that have the shaker package, like this one right here. Now if you guys are fans of this thing, I know I am, I think it definitely looks pretty cool, and many people actually don't know, but this thing actually is functional. It actually does let air through here, and it goes straight to the air filter, which I will show you guys here once I pop the hood. But what most people don't know is that you actually need to remove the shaker to change your oil. So let me show you guys how to do that. Alright, so right here, of course, we do have the shaker hood on the Dodge Challenger ScatPack shaker. So underneath this hood is actually where you fill up the oil, and it's also where the actual air flows through here down to the air filter right here, the cold air intake. So the entire shaker is actually not being utilized. It's actually just like a small hole in the top corner right over here where the air goes through. So you can see it goes right through here, then it comes out right here and provides air to the cold air intake right here. Now like I said, you actually do have to remove this whole shaker in order to actually change the oil. So if you guys look right here, I believe there's 5 different bolts that hold this thing in. Right there, there's one right over here, and then there are 2 more on the top corners right there. So I guess there's only 4 bolts holding it in. You guys might be wondering, what do you actually use to unscrew that? Well, you know, Dodge being Dodge, they provided you a specific tool literally just to remove the shaker. And mine right here was actually in the glove box, which I will show you guys right over here. So here is what the actual shaker tool looks like, if I can get it out here. But it literally says shaker on it. So, you know, obviously, you know, this is for the shaker. And what's cool about this is that it actually is also magnetic. So whenever you actually remove the bolts, they actually stick to right here, so you don't accidentally lose them inside your engine bay. I just think it's really cool that Dodge actually included a specific tool that's literally specifically only to remove the shaker right there. So, you know, you don't have to go to the dealership for any kind of like specialized tools that only like, you know, Mopar certified technicians can do. So I do think it's really cool that they actually allow you to remove the shaker, you know, on your own and actually change your own oil. Like I said, that shaker tool is supposed to come with every single Challenger that has the shaker package. And like I said, mine was just sitting in the glove box. So pretty convenient and pretty easy to find in my opinion. That was the second tip that I wanted to share with you guys in this video. Now let's go ahead and hop in, start this thing up, show you guys some more features that are on the inside of this thing. And you guys already know I couldn't leave this part out of the video. Definitely probably my favorite part about this car is literally just the exhaust sound. You guys can still hear that rumble right there. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about in this section right here is actually the timers and the top speed thing that you have on the gauge right over here. So to be honest, I've actually never used the timers on this car right here, but I will show you guys how to actually get to them. And there's also some pretty cool gauges, like it shows you your top speed and stuff like that. You have all your vehicle info here. So right there you can see this is your performance section of the gauge cluster right here. So as you can see, you have your top speed right there. Obviously I wouldn't recommend testing out the top speed unless you're in Mexico or on a closed course track. So right there, and here we have a timer, which I think is pretty cool. Right here, this is the 0 to 60 timer. So as you can see right here, my best is 5 seconds. Obviously nothing too impressive, but I believe right now if I try to do a 0 to 60 with these new tires that are 275 Michelins, I think it would be a little bit better than 5 seconds. So that's a 0 to 60 timer right there. And I believe this timer actually just works automatically. So anytime you start accelerating, it automatically times to see if it's better than 5 seconds. So I think that's how that works. I don't know how to actually like time it manually, but yeah, I do think it all works automatically. So moving on, here we have the 0 to 100 timer. So obviously here you can see my best is 10.8. Of course, nothing impressive once again. But as with the last one, I do think this actually works automatically. So anytime you start accelerating, it automatically sets a timer to see how fast you actually get to these speeds. And that's how it actually determines your best right there. So moving on here, we have the 8th mile timer. So obviously my best is 8.6. Of course, once again, nothing too crazy. And also I do think this one is automatic once again. And then here we have a quarter mile. So quarter mile timer, we have 13.6. To be honest, if I was on like an actual drag strip, I do think it would be 13s maybe, now that I have good tires. An unprepped surface, I do think 13.6 really isn't too terrible for a car like this that isn't like, you know, I don't have any kind of like crazy drag racing mods or anything like that. So moving on here, we have braking distance. So I guess I've never actually tried this. You know, weighing 4,200 pounds, this car probably won't have very good braking distance. I feel like anything under 100 feet is, I would say, pretty good. I believe the Corvette Z06 does it in like 90 something feet. So, you know, anything under 100, I would call that pretty good. So I'm not sure what this car would do, but I would assume that it's a little bit over 100 feet. So here we have G-force. Now this is actually instantaneous current G-force. So anytime you're driving and you want to see how many G's you're pulling, either lateral or, you know, front to back, that's where it shows you how many G's you're actually pulling, which I think is pretty cool. So if you're doing like a 0 to 60 run, you can pull this up and see how many G's you're pulling. Or if you're on a road course, you can see how many G's you're pulling in turns and stuff like that. So that's also pretty cool. Moving on here, I have my peak G-forces. So here we can see, you know, my best is 1.05 right here on the left side. So I guess that means that I've turned very hard that way or something. Then as you can see, we have 0.93 up front and 0.66. So for acceleration, you know, of course that's nothing crazy. I believe Cletus McFarland in his El Camino that he calls Mullet, I think he has been like 2 G's of acceleration G's. So, you know, 0.93 or 0.66. That's nothing crazy, but you know, it's still pretty fun to actually be able to see all these different G meters right here. Moving on here we have a lap timer. So right here, I believe this one actually is manual. So you can actually press, you know, you press OK right over here to actually start the timer. So there you can see I pressed OK and it's timing. So if you press OK again, there's your actual lap. So you can actually, if you're on a road course here, you can actually start the timer and manually time yourself. Each time you do one lap, you just press OK. Then it gives you your best and last lap time. So here you can see I pressed OK to indicate a lap, and that's my last lap time right there. So 14.59 seconds was my last lap time. My best was 6.59. And then in order to stop this, I believe all we have to do is just hold OK, and it'll reset it just like that back to 0. So let's see what's next here. Okay, so here we have actual lap history. So you can see all your laps laid out right there. So in the previous meter, we could actually set the lap times, and here's actually where we see all the lap times we did previously. So you can see I did 3 laps right there, and it shows you all the times for each lap. So if you're on a road course, I definitely do think this is very useful. I really do think having all these like metrics, timers, and meters are very useful for a car like this, especially if you're going to be actually racing on like a drag strip or a road course. It has a bunch of useful timers on here that anybody could use, whether that's manually or automatically setting the timers. Like I said, most of the straight line acceleration timers are all automatic. You don't actually have to like manually click start and stop whenever whenever you're starting from 0 and whenever you actually reach 60 or whatever speed you're timing for. I do think it's a lot more accurate for the car to actually do it automatically, because if you were to actually focus on driving and clicking start and stop on the timer, I don't think it would be as accurate as the computer on the car actually doing it for you. And then for the road course or the lap timer, it's all manual. So whenever you hit a lap, you just press the OK button, and that's how it knows your time for that last lap. So I do think that's pretty cool. I do think that's a really cool feature to have on a car like this. All right, so now for the next one, we're gonna go ahead and get out of the car. Listen to this V8 rumble right here. Yeah, that never gets old. But here, let's go ahead and move on to the front of the car, and I can show you guys the 4th feature that I wanted to mention in this video. So right there you can see the halo headlights right there. I do think that's a very good touch to these cars. Now, if you guys are pretty familiar with these Challengers, then you'll probably see some of them have the orange halos on the inside halos, and that actually is a feature that you can turn on and off. Now, I wasn't actually sure how to do it at first. I thought you just had to turn on like the running lights, but that actually is not how you turn on the orange halos. Let me show you guys exactly how to turn those on. All right, so here on the inside, if we look at the Uconnect system right here, we go to apps, I believe, and then we can go to settings right over here on the second page. And then all you have to do is click on lights. And then right here we have all the different light settings, I guess. Then daytime running lights, we can turn those on. And now let me show you guys on the outside what the orange halos look like. All right, so moving around to the front here, let's go ahead and take a look. So right there you can see the orange halos are turned on right there, and if you look closely you can actually see that the the white LEDs are also on. So the orange are just in addition to the white LEDs on the inside. So you can kind of see the orange are on the inside, and then the white LEDs are on the outside of the orange, and then you also have the white LEDs on the outside headlights as well. So I definitely do think that the orange halos look pretty cool, but I'm just a bigger fan of having only the white halos on. Like I said, this thing definitely looks pretty cool, both with the orange halos as well as only the white halos, but I just prefer the look of only the white halos. That's why I usually don't really have the orange ones turned on. That was the 4th thing that I wanted to share with you guys in this video. Now the number 5 thing is just gonna kind of be like an overview of the Uconnect system and kind of just showing you guys through the different apps and settings here. Now, to be honest, I really don't use this system much because, you know, I'm pretty crazy. I don't actually listen to music while I drive because I like listening to the exhaust instead. But anyways, let's go ahead and go through this and see what we actually find here. So, you know, obviously you do have your standard radio right here. You can also have your Sirius XM subscription if you use that. So right here we have the actual media section where you can set up a Bluetooth device like your phone, or you can plug something into the USB, which is actually right over here. Here you can have your aux, USB, or SD card. You also do have a 12 volt right there. So that's all in the center console. So I think it's pretty cool that it's like nice and tucked away right there, so it, you know, keeps your car clean, I guess, and everything out of the way. So obviously you do have USB, aux, Bluetooth, and SD cards. So here's where you can connect all of your media devices if you want to play your own music. Moving on to controls. Here is where you select all of your heated or vented seats. And what's cool about this is that you also do have a heated steering wheel. So of course when it's cold, you can turn that on and it actually heats up the entire steering wheel. And what I like about that is that it actually works very quickly. You really don't have to wait long for the steering wheel to actually heat up. So of course, it is very useful in the winter time when it's pretty cold. So here we also do have your mirror dimmer, and then you can turn the screen off right here as well, or you can just hit the off button right there. Then here are the passenger side controls. Moving on to apps. Here's where we just were, but here we have all the different settings. So, you know, you have your climate controls, which those are also down here as well. Then assist, I believe that's just like the driver assist, where you can use your voice to actually command different things, to like call people and stuff like that. You have all your different settings for your heated and vented seats, as it was the steering wheel. Then also your media, which you can also select right down there. Have your mirror dimmer, notices, performance controls. Let's go ahead and look at this because that's probably what you guys are most interested in. So right here is where you can set up your launch control for this car. So what's cool about this is that you can actually set the RPMs that you want to launch at. You just do that right over here, and you can set all the way from 1500 to 3500, which is pretty cool, I think. And you just go back, and whenever you're ready to actually do the launch control, you hit activate launch control, and then it'll give you a message right over here on the screen. It'll say fully depress the brake, and then fully press the gas, then release the brake, and that's how you just use launch control. And you know, like I mentioned before, it'll automatically start all of your timers, so like 0 to 60, 0 to 100, 1/8 mile and 1/4 mile. So all those timers will automatically start whenever you do launch control. And I think they also do start anytime you like start from 0. So they're always checking to see if you're gonna have a new best time anytime you start. So I think that's pretty cool. You do have the launch control right here. Then here we got drive mode setup. So here, this car only has default mode and sport mode. Sport mode you turn on right here, and if you turn that on, you'll get a green flag right there. That's how you know you're in sport mode. Here's where you actually like set up the settings of each of your modes. So you can see current mode, we're in default because I turned off sport mode. Engine transmission normal, paddle shifters are on. Now paddle shifters are on, that doesn't mean that your paddle shifters are actually on. You actually have to engage the paddle shifters by putting the shifter towards the left if you're in drive. You can see the M right there next to the D. So whenever you are in drive, you just put the shifter towards the left to actually get into manual mode. Then you can shift by either putting the shifter either up or down. So up would be downshifting, and then pulling it back would be upshifting, like it says on the plus minus right here. And then of course you can also use the paddle shifters that are on the back of the steering wheel here. So you have downshift on the left and upshift on the right. So paddle shifters are on. I believe that just means that they are available to use. And traction, you got normal, steering normal. Traction control you can also manually turn off right over here. You can see if I hit that button, it'll just do traction control sport, and then it'll give you the traction control off button. And then I believe you can also hold this down for a few seconds to actually completely turn off traction control. So that's what you do, I guess, if you want to do a burnout or something. And we can turn it back on right there. You can see the traction control off light turned off. So moving back to the screen here, We also do have a setting for the steering. Now if it's set to normal, it's just going to be, you know, it's just going to feel normal. But if it's set to sport, then you can, it definitely feels tighter, and you know, you do have, I guess, more like feedback from the steering wheel. So it definitely is good if you're, you know, if you're on a road course, you get more feedback. But also if you're doing straight line racing like on a drag strip or roll racing, then it helps you to keep the steering wheel straight better, because like I said, it's harder to actually move. But if it's more difficult to actually turn, then it's going to help you keep it straight better. So that's the steering wheel right there. And here, to actually like change your settings, you can go default mode setup, and I guess you can't do that for default mode. It has to only be in sport mode. So here's where you go to actually set up your default mode. Now one thing about this is that you can't actually change the settings for engine, trans, or traction control. You can only change your settings for the paddle shifters and your steering. So if you're in default mode and if you want like more comfortable steering, just do that. If you want normal, do that. You know, sport mode, put it on sport mode. But you can't actually change your settings for traction control or the engine trans. That's only for sport mode. So this is your default mode settings. Of course, we have engine trans normal, paddles are on or optional if you want those, traction control normal, and steering normal. Now if we go back, we go to sport mode setup. You know, you can see everything is on sport except for traction control. And like I said, you can manually turn off traction control with the button right over here. But if you want it to automatically go into sport mode traction control, whenever you hit the sport mode button down here, then that's where you just change that. All you do is just hit that. Then whenever you hit the sport mode button, it'll automatically turn off traction control and put it into sport mode as well. So we'll keep that on normal. Then right here, so that's pretty much what you have on your performance control and your launch control section. I think it's really cool that you can actually set up all those different settings on the car right here. Here you have your phone, your passenger, heated seats and vented seats. You got your radio, which is obviously right there as well. You got your screen off, which you can just turn off by hitting that. Settings, that's where we go to, you know, obviously set up the different settings. We can kind of go over that real quick here. Display, units, voice, clock. Clock, obviously you just use that to change the time. Lights, of course, that's where you went to turn on the orange halos. Then there's just a bunch of different like setups here for your phone or Bluetooth, Sirius XM. I told you guys about that earlier. And yeah, so I do think it's very useful to actually have all these different like performance pages and different settings that you can actually like use on this car. Guys, like I said, I definitely do think that it's really cool that you have all those different timers, including the 0 to 60, 0 to 100, braking distance, quarter mile, eighth mile, all those different timers, lap timers. Then it's also cool that you can, you know, set up all your different modes. Like for default mode and sport mode, you can adjust all your settings that you want with just a click of a button. So for a sports car like this, a performance car like this, I definitely do think that it's very useful. And you know, people out there who actually use this car for what it's made to do, I do think those settings would be very useful for somebody who actually wants to, you know, take full advantage of what this car has to offer. So if you guys have anything to add to this video, I definitely want to see what you guys want to say, and definitely drop those down in the comments below. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to also leave those down in the comment section below. And if you guys have any video suggestions for videos you'd like to see in the future, make sure to also drop those down in the comment section below. And if you guys liked this video or found it entertaining, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. And guys, I actually wasn't joking about the whole being crazy thing. I'm literally sitting here at a red light, not listening to music or anything, and it's literally like 40 degrees out right now, and I'm just sitting here with the windows wide open, literally only because I like listening to the sound of the exhaust on this car. So let me know if any of you guys are also like that as well, or if it's just me. But you know, when you have a car that sounds like this, I really don't think you guys can blame me for, you know, not listening to music and having the windows wide open just to listen to the sound of the exhaust. Really never gets old.